Well, first of all, be easy to work with. Becca, I'm sure I can get snaps from you on that one. Easy to work with. Really take time to understand the audience going into it ahead of time, and is responsive, all the things like admin wise, but a great speaker on site. They're not going to be someone who just turns it off as soon as they get off stage. It's so interesting to me.
I'm Becca Poutney, wedding business marketing expert, speaker and blogger, and you're listening to the Wedding Pros Who Are Ready to Grow podcast. I'm here to share with you actionable tips, strategies, and real-life examples to help you take your wedding business to the next level. If you are an ambitious wedding business owner that wants to take your passion and use it to build a profitable, sustainable business doing what you love, then you're in the right place. Let's get going with today's episode. Today, I'm joined by the fabulous Megan Ely, PR expert, owner of OFD Consulting, and most importantly for me right now, one of the keynote speakers for my wedding industry conference, Wed Pros Live, which is taking place this March. Megan is going to be on stage at both the Ireland and the London events, asking the question, are you ready for the new way of doing business in weddings? She's an incredible person, a fountain of knowledge, and I know you're all going to love her. Megan, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back. Thank you so much for having me now virtually. And also before long across the pond. I'm so excited.
I am excited as well. Now, here's a bit of trivia for you, because I look back, because this isn't your first appearance on the podcast, and I look back to see when your last appearance was. So my podcast started in March 2022. So when between now and March 2022, take a guess when you were last on the podcast. What
April 2022. I feel like I'd be like first out the gate. I'm obsessed.
You were there early. So you were episode 38 in 2022. So it's been a while.
It's been a while, but we've stayed in touch, everybody. Like, we've seen each other. We were at MBA. We were in London together. So have no fear. It's not only our second time seeing each other as people.
No, definitely not.
The friendship continued.
It shows that it was time to get you back on this podcast. And if people want to listen back to that episode, you could go find it. Episode 38, we were talking all about pitching and PR and all that kind of good stuff. So anyone who hasn't heard that initial episode or hasn't come across you before, just give us a super quick recap of who you are and how you ended up in the world of weddings.
Absolutely. So I've been in the industry more than 20 years. I started out in venues. So I was in venues for almost 7 years. And then my background formally is in public relations, publicity training. And I decided to go out on my own. That's a longer story, requires a glass of wine. We shall not do that today. And I started OFD Consulting, which is a wedding publicity agency. We're small but mighty. We have a great team and we help people get published. So that's going to be through getting quoted, podcasts, interviews, real wedding features, and the like.
And is most of what you do now, because again, things shift in business from the last time you were on here, is most of what you do one-to-one? Are you doing small group work? How does it look?
Wonderful question, because every publicist is different. We kind of take our own paths in terms of what we do. So I about 80% of my work is actually a membership called the OFD Collective. I call it a done alongside you membership. So it means, yes, we're doing educating. We have office hours to consult. But yes, if someone wants us to do the submissions, we will do that. Like, we will take on the submissions and do that for them. You can check us out on Instagram. You can see placements, things like that. But what's kind of interesting about what we do is that we work with writers, editors, publishers all over, and they come to us and they will have articles. Sometimes we're writing them as well, but they'll come to us and we will go ahead and, they'll say, we need help on an article about X, Y, and Z. I'm like, great, we'll go ahead, we'll send it to the members, see who's the best fit, and people will share their expertise, and then the writer will pick the best suited ones for it. So it's very much a membership base. I do some coaching as well. I have a couple of legacy retainer clients, but currently we're full for that. And then we also have a course too. So we've got a mix of how you want to hang out with us.
I love it. But also I love stalking on your Instagram and seeing where your clients get featured.
Yeah,
because you hit some great places. Like, just tell me some of the great places your clients have been featured this year.
So it's been a wild year. I'll be honest. 2025 was wild. Like, we were up like 22%, I think, with leads. So like, there's just a lot of need for articles and things like that. We were so proud to work with the New York Times on their 2026 wedding trends. Also, it took 17 months to publish, but about the cost of weddings, right? So that was a big one as well with those guys. But you can see us over at Martha Stewart. In the past, we've been at Brides. I mean, right now they're on editorial pause, so you won't see anything from us over there right now. We work at Bridal Guide, Destination I Do, Love Inc., LA Times, a lot of the wedding blogs. I mean, Green Wedding Shoes, Ruffles, Cares and Cakes, so on and so forth. But we have some fun ones too, where it's like Southern living. Like sometimes we dip into the world of like a lot of our planners, should be considered hosting or hostessing, if you will, hosting experts. And so they do some pretty cool stuff. Occasionally we'll dip into travel and leisure and such. Anything wedding related, wherever weddings are being talked about, that's where you're going to find us.
I love it. You're all over the place. Here's a sneaky fact about me. I love a bit of Southern living. My best friend lives in Alabama. And when I go to stay, I'm always like looking through because it's so different to the way we do things here. Looking at the recipes and the decor. I love it.
It's so different. What you need to do is find the TikTok accounts where it's like Southern recipes from the 50s. Everything has, like, spoiler, everything has Jell-O. It's all gelatin based. It's wild. And so, no, it's Southern living is such a fun one. And some of these, I'll say real quick, one of the most fun things about my job, sometimes we're in the lifestyle space, but talking about weddings, hostessing, and we might get like a Good Housekeeping or a Southern living, and then someone will get quoted, and sometimes they'll say to me, and I think this is very sweet, like, oh my gosh, my mom read this growing up, or I read this, like, I read Good Housekeeping growing up. So like, I love seeing that. So that's always fun when there's like a nostalgic, bit to it as well.
And there's another big PR moment that happened last year that we can't move on without talking about, because I know you tell the story. Someone important got engaged in the US last year.
Oh my gosh, Taylor Allison Swift. And let me be the first to tell you, Becca, like, am I a self-identified Swiftie? No, I have a deep respect for her philanthropy, her cat lady ways, her music, all this stuff. So I was like, here, I'm going to give you the visual. I'm literally I'm about to walk on a plane, right? I'm like, doing my thing, probably playing Wordle or something. And I'm at the Philly airport. I can't remember where I'm going. I really can't. It doesn't matter. I'm going to Philly. I'm in Philly. I'm going somewhere else, and I'm on my phone, and suddenly my phone just blows up. I mean, just pew, 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 like, blah, 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 and it's like Taylor Swift is engaged. I remember looking around going, why is no one screaming? Like, isn't this like a huge, like, I can't believe no one was reacting, like the good people of Philadelphia airport. And so as I'm walking on the plane, I'm like, if this plane doesn't have Wi-Fi, I'm going to scream. Like, because I think I was only about a 2-hour flight, but didn't matter. Like, I needed that time. So as you can imagine, I'm standing here, I get the news. As I'm walking to my seat, I'm pitching editors, like, because you have to go fast. It's like, are we getting the band back together? What are we doing? Like, here I am. We got everybody. I think there was an extra 40 hours added to my work week that week. But as my husband says, you kind of love it, don't yeah, you're exhausted, but you're kind of like loving this. And it was so much fun, Becca. I'll tell you, we had one article where they're like, yeah, just get it to us by like next week. And they're like, no, we actually need it in 3 hours. I was like, what? And so we put on an Insta Live. We did this whole education. It was fun. I mean, who knows like what she's going to do, right? Because at the time of this recording, we don't know. I mean, there's a lot of like anticipation, but we know it will be after football season. I was talking with someone who's like, oh, it's going to be 2027. And I'm like, no way. There's no way they're wait. The longer a celebrity wait, one of the reasons they do them quickly, partly because they have the budget to do it, is because the longer you wait, the more people can figure out what's going on, right? You need to get it done, get married.
Or maybe she'll take inspiration from the Pantone color of the year and just go for cloud white.
You chose violence today, Becca. You really did. No, listen, the Pantone color of the year, for those who don't know, Pantone comes up with like this color and they're like, this is the color of the year. And does it impact weddings? Not necessarily, but it is quick in the news cycle. And it's my least favorite day of the year. Everyone who knows me knows this, because there's no way to prepare. You just get the color, and it could be it's super oversaturated, or it's something you don't have, or it's ugly. Look, I'm looking at you, baby blue, baby pink from a few years ago. But anyways, so I changed my gym schedule, knowing when it was coming out, and they still came out like 10 minutes early, which made me mad. And I'm standing grabbing my stuff at the gym. I just finished my workout, look down, and it says the color is white. And I basically I wanted to choose violence that day. I'll be honest. I could not have been more disappointed. I thought, well, that's not really picking a color, is it? And how do you but then it posed a really interesting publicity challenge of how do you make that interesting. So we partnered with Bridal Guide in particular and wrote this awesome article, and it was, I mean, yeah, it's white, but what can we do different? And I'm really proud of our members because, I mean, we had so many jokes, but people really rose to the challenge. What did you think? That was ridiculous, right?
I thought what my children would say is, white's not a color, it's a shade. Like the first
Yeah,
thing they
what is
learn in primary school.
happening? Yeah, I was like, this is not, what is this? So I don't know. I would have loved something. I would have loved something. How about that? Period. I don't need to end that. That's a sentence. I would have loved something.
But what I have enjoyed about it actually is in some ways it's made us all talk about it more because we
I
have like
know.
it's so ridiculous and we're having to make fun of it. Actually, it's like very memeable and I quite enjoy that.
Yeah, no, I was going to say there was a lot of hubbub, and it's really funny to me because there's just so much dialogue. My favorite is like I had my friend Janice wrote, or no, she sent me a voice recording and she goes, "Hey, listen, you need to move your phone away from your ear because I'm about to scream." And I was like, this is so funny. So it's like the worst. Anyways, we'll see. Try again. Try harder next year, Pantone.
Yeah, if you're listening, like let's go for something a little bit more vibrant and a little bit
Little
more fun.
flashy. Anything.
Exactly. Now, we have seen the industry shifted. I've been talking about this a lot. Over the last
Yeah.
couple of years, marketing shifted, the industry shifting, the demographic of our consumers is shifting, consumer behavior. There's so many shifts.
Yeah.
So I thought from your perspective, it would be interesting to know what you're seeing has shifted in the industry over the last kind of 6 to 12 months into 2026.
Sure. I mean, there's a few things. I'd love to touch upon media here as well, if you don't mind, because that's just fresh on it. But let's start with the industry itself. I mean, of course, we are seeing a continued push, looking at the economics, right, globally of where we are. We're seeing that the sales cycles look different, right? You're seeing that couples are booking closer in. That can wreak havoc on a cash flow. As somebody who, when I worked in venues, we had historical data that if I was still doing that now, it would be blown to smithereens, right? Because you're like, well, now they're booking 4 months out, like things like that as well. And so we're also seeing a continued push in the best way possible towards authenticity. We want the couples are, and we'll talk a little bit about this when I come over, but just kind of a sneak peek here is that they want to know what you value. That's very important to them. According to Lynn over at Splendid Insights, couples are looking at portfolio and personality for sure. That's still the case. But in addition to that, they are looking to know, what do you stand for? What are your values? What are important to you? Video continues to just boop, 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 boop. Like it's just, the algorithm loves it. The couples love it. It's how they take in their information as well. So it's been interesting to see wedding pros who we're not just talking about content creators at the event for the wedding, we're seeing content creators being hired for the wedding pros to show like how everything gets put together, so on and so forth. If I may touch upon wedding PR for a second and say the media, because we actually are talking about that later today with the team, is I am always like, the media is constantly changing. I mean, that's true, right? Like I could say that every year on repeat. You could just, that sound bait, you could just keep playing over and over. But here's the thing is I've never seen so many shifts within staffs of corporate in the last year. So, for those listening, Brides had 2 series of layoffs in 2025. It was in Q1 in January, late January, early February, happened right before the end of the year. They're down, Brides is down to a skeleton staff and kind of figuring out what's next when it comes to that. The Knot went through a heavy amount of layoffs from what it looks like at near the end of the year. They lost their Real Weddings editor, their editorial team, a lot of the writers I worked with. Bridal Guide went through brand new, Danny, brand new publisher, relatively new team. That's a lot. Those are kind of big. And then Martha Stewart still has not published a wedding since August 19th, 2024. So they're out of the game for real wedding submissions right now. I mean, they're still doing articles, but they're definitely out of the game for wedding submission. So that's a lot. I mean, those are the ones. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still Vogue and all these other places. But I think that seeing all those adjustments, as well as the kind of more public infiltration of pay to play, which we're seeing as well, people paying for a spot in British Vogue magazine. Actually, your issue, no, I'm just kidding. You go to the page, it's like 1 million wedding photos and it says Vogue advertising. Like they do everything right to make sure they're following and being very clear on this. But then what happens is, wedding pros are putting it out there, and I'm not bemoaning them for paying for something, but they're giving the impression they earned it editorially. So there's a lot, like not just the industry, but my little world is facing a lot of interesting challenges right now.
It definitely is seeing a shift. And with all of that considered, so
Yeah.
thinking about the rise of video, the social media, the way that the couples are behaving, do you think press and traditional PR does actually still have a place in our industry? And what does that look like? Where should people be focusing their time and effort in that
Sure.
area?
Sure. No, that's a great question. So press absolutely matters, but it matters differently than it has in years past. So again, not to overquote, I think Splendid Insights is amazing. And like they just rolled out their 2026, it's kind of like Consumer Reports for the wedding industry, and I love it. But what we saw was actually an uptick in the number of couples who's saying this year, yeah, press matters to a degree. It's almost 30% of couples say that's something we're looking at. So when it comes to press, I really encourage people to, take a look at it and determine on their own what makes the most sense. For what's going to work best for them. So there's a few things like how visibility is going to work for them. One, when it comes to press, it's going to be the backlinks. Like I know SEO, it can serve you very well giving you those beautiful backlinks, right? When you get quoted in the New York Times, when you get quoted in Brides, Martha, whatever, you get those great backlinks. And that's part of an SEO campaign to move you up on Google, which is still one of the top ways couples find their wedding day team. Relationships are still a huge referral base for wedding pros. I work with a lot of photographers who do press because they know that their planners and their venues love it. So it's just kind of, investing in those relationships as well. But it's also the social proof. It's what I said about the 30%, the couples who absolutely, they're looking to social proof. They know that you do a great job. They need to know everybody else thinks you're great, and they need to see that. And one of the ways, there's others, there's testimonials and so on and so forth, but press is part of it as well. So those are kind of big ones. Now, when you look at statistically, like couples are finding people through SEO and referrals, publications are still up there. So that's something to think about too, whether it's editorial, advertorial. So yeah, press still matters. It just matters in a different way than maybe it did 10 years ago.
And what's interesting, my brain's ticking as you're talking with the rise of AI. One thing I've been talking about is how, in the digital world of AI, they're saying that brand mentions are as important as backlinks. So if you want to show up in the AI searches, being your brand being mentioned by
Yes.
publications and by those things
Yeah.
helps your authority in the search.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for adding that GEO, which I'm just still continuing to learn, but we sat down with Sarah Dunn and talked about it recently. GEO, definitely how couples find you on ChatGPT. I'm always monitoring. So far, so good. I'm good on ChatGPT, but those articles help. You're right. Absolutely. So thank you for that.
And when it comes to your kind of media PR approach as a wedding business owner, do you think we need to look at a more holistic package now rather than just the press? So should we be asking questions or looking to get social media mentions from the press? Should we be looking at things like podcasting, for example, as a growing market?
Sure. I'm huge on diversification. That's always been my thing. I mean, that's how I run my business, is I'm always looking at ways to diversify without diluting and so on and so forth as well. So yes, 100%. I'm a big fan of making sure that, first of all, you diversify. If you're doing submissions, you diversify within that. You're focused a little bit on national, a little bit on niche, a little bit on local, like whatever makes the most sense for you, right? So that's part of it. But in addition to that, because wedding submissions are such a long game and or not always a great fit for everybody, you're looking at being quoted. But as you say, podcasts, I mean, there's well over 100 different industry type podcasts also, and award-winning ones right in front of us. And, that's a great way to be able to showcase your personality. It's a little bit of the lift, you always want to be prepped and ready to go. And I'm sure you can share that with people, but really the lift is not so much that you can't integrate that into a busy schedule as well. So yes, big part of that. Now, I will say when it comes to social media, is it part of a bigger look at promotion, how you're showing up on social, SEO, GEO? Yes. In our world, when we're looking at publications to decide, well, who's the best fit, so on and so forth, all this stuff, you are mindful of, are you going to be tagged by their social? Will they put you on social? So yeah, that absolutely is. But diversification continues to be the name of the game for sure.
Yeah. And even when it comes to things like podcasts, there's a huge selection, and you thinking about what's the right fit in the same way as you are with any traditional press. Like, am I trying to go after a couple market? Is this a business to consumer podcast, or am I going after the other business owners, business to business? There's a whole lot of stuff we could talk about there too. But I think it's interesting to see press and PR as a more holistic picture rather than just going styled shoots in magazines. Do you think styled shoots are kind of slowly becoming a thing of the past? Because I'm definitely noticing less people doing it.
I knew this. When you said style shoots, I was like, I knew that's coming. Here's the thing. I wish my colleague Megan, the other Megan in my life, Megan Acosta, who's on my team, I wish she was with me because we both have like different but passionate views about styled shoots. So I'm going to try and do us both well. Here's the thing. Styled shoots can work under certain circumstances, but you got to change your goals. I personally have never been a massive fan of, like, I've never been a big fan of them, in the early years of 2009, 2010. They would get picked up, but over time, the wedding publications primarily will lean into weddings and prefer weddings over style shoots. Now there are exceptions to the rule. There are publications that still do really beautiful editorial shoots. Like I don't necessarily mean those, but when someone's like, "Hey, let's all get together and do it." If you are doing styled shoots, they're still around, but they're less so, and I'm fine with that. And you just have to make sure that the goals are not completely focused on editorial. Instead, it could be focused on, maybe that's third place compared to like, well, I'm trying to build these relationships. This is a new venue. I really want to do something new and exciting and different. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in here and do this and show people this is something I can do. So if you do it for content, if you do it for relationship building, fine. Just, I would say, please, please, please make sure that there's no one person. Like, I mean, I feel like the florists get hit so hard, Becca, with these because it's a lot of product for them, but you just have to make sure you're fair with how people are, what they're putting into it, but also be mindful that press is less likely than it used to be, which is fine by me. I'd rather see the weddings. I'd rather see actual events as a former event pro.
And I think that has definitely been a shift. I'm definitely seeing it here in the UK. Less people are doing style shoots, and you're right, the goal needs to change. And I
Yeah.
am still seeing some people in the old model where they're desperate to get it in a certain magazine, and therefore they're not showing any of the content anywhere. And
Mhm.
I understand that, but actually so often they don't then get that. And I'm like, you're wasting it. Like, just get it out there, let everyone see it.
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest misnomers, though, is that you don't have to, like, when it comes to features, like, you can't share it anywhere. And that's rare. Like, for the most part, with the rare exceptions of like New York Times, Vogue, like very rare exception, used to be Brides, like anything, and of course, anything celebrity, like People magazine, you can't share, but otherwise, as long as we like to use the word judicious here at OFD, if you are selective judicious, if you want to share, then you can share. You just can't overdo it and put like 20 images in a carousel. But the other thing too is you do have to wait. Like we talk about setting the filters for these publications, right? And say, well, what are they doing for social? The other is are they a long wait or not? Because we're doing our state of the wedding media later today. And we have a spoiler alert. We've got some slides dedicated to acknowledging like these are quicker turnaround places. These are longer turnaround places. I think that's important that people know that we had this one publication that I won't name, but it's a very sought after, like people really are gunning for it. Not one we've talked about yet, but it's a really well-known one. And we got accepted. It was 18 months. 18 months until that wedding was featured, which is like a wild amount of time for me when you really want to showcase those images. So you have to make determinations for yourself what's worth it and what's not.
So helpful. Okay,
Yeah.
you work with a lot of wedding pros. I work with a lot of wedding pros. So I want to know what you're seeing out there. What are the most successful pros focusing on right now? So people that are doing well
Yeah.
in the industry, what's their focus on?
So there's a few things. First of all, they are focused on what I like to call purposeful visibility. Like they're focused on being visible in the right rooms, the right places, and really running their why test on why they're doing the things they do. They don't just go to galas because they're fun. They go because there's connections to be had there. They don't just serve on industry boards because, like, of course you do it, to be of service, but there's a reasoning behind that as well. They're going for publications that make sense for, of course, the people they're trying to attract, their ideal client, and so on and so forth as well. So they're running a wide test on their visibility and they're choosing accordingly. Those are what successful people are doing. And if I may say more in a general sense, wedding pros, the successful ones, are still pouring into people. That's never going to change. Everything has changed every year since I've been in business. But what doesn't change is people and putting time into them, taking care of each other and with a purpose as well. But just being mindful of others and pouring into them, that's going to lead to success. And it's a do-good thing too. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean this to sound like a strategic, but the people who really value relationships are the ones who'll do well.
Yeah, 100%. And I love that phrase, purposeful visibility. I think people need to hang on to that because people can be visible for the sake of being visible, but
Yeah.
actually, You're so right. Doing something with purpose, knowing the reason behind doing it, why you're going and doing those things is always going to be more impactful for your
A
business and
thousand percent.
stop you being a busy fool, because we can all just go to every trip or every event happening and burn out.
Yeah, you can burn it. It leads. That's what I say is when you don't have alignment with your visibility, right? When you don't have alignment, it's burnout. What you experience, not breakthrough. You don't get some sort of breakthrough. You're burnt out by the end of it. And I just, as someone who's come dangerously close a few times because I was a yes person so many times, I've learned not to do that.
Yeah, me too. There was someone years ago when I started a business that used to teach, just go for all the coffees, go for all the coffees with no purpose. And I used to then teach the opposite and be like, there should be a reason. If I'm going for coffee with you, like,
Yeah.
unless we're really good friends, like my time is precious and there needs to be a purpose
Yeah.
to the coffee. We can't just go for
No,
coffee.
I've had to learn that. Well, let me tell. Can I tell you what I do? A lot of, and this is like, believe me, if I could, I would with everybody, but it doesn't work. And you and I both, with families and so on and so forth. Like, there's just no way with my time and my travel. And so if someone comes, and even the really nice people who are like, I really just want to pick your brain, or I want to grab coffee. When I usually say, hey, listen, like, truly, my time is not my own right now. I have to focus fully on prospect clients and current clients. Like, there's just no in between with that. So, I'm sorry, I can't, if I can answer a couple email, I just can't. But I also, what I tell people too is I actually choose to, I mentor two people at my alma mater and also through the National Society of Black Wedding and Event Professionals. I love that group. And so I devote my time to 3 people, and that's what my bandwidth allows this year. And that's what I let people know. It's like, it doesn't mean you can't, meet with people and do good. It just means you have to build boundaries around it. Otherwise, you and I will be overly caffeinated with everybody in town,
Yeah, and that's hard when you're a yes person, because sometimes you just want to say yes to everyone. But I think there's a
Yes.
lot of people in this industry that are yes people, and there's a lot of people that need to understand that we need boundaries to move forward. Now, talking about your
100%.
precious time, you are spending some of your precious time
I
over here
am. I'm
with
so
me
excited.
in 2026. So you're coming to Ireland, you're coming to
Yes.
London. I know you've been to both places before, but just tell the listeners, what are you excited about in terms of the country? What are you excited about doing in
Oh my
Ireland?
gosh.
And what are
Oh
you
my
excited about
gosh.
doing in London?
So this is my 9th trip to Ireland. Like, I've been to Ireland a bunch. So I'm very excited. I've got my two besties and speakers, Renee and Leah, and are going a little over early. So we're in Dublin. Y'all know where we're going. Y'all know the two. I'm taking them to the Book of Kells. I'm taking them to the Guinness Storehouse, which, I know, but like, that's what everyone does. But I'm really looking forward to walking around with them, so on and so forth. Personally, over in Ireland, I'm really excited. My family will join me later, and I'm excited to go down to the coast to Dingle and visit some friends. And also, Travis and I renewed our vows there many, many years ago, and then we partied all night at Dick Mac's pub in downtown Little Dingle. So, and the owner of the pub, who has since passed, but he was literally, like, he grew up there, he was born there, all the things. His name is Oliver, and his name is what inspired Oliver's name to remind us of that fun time. So to be able to bring my son back is crazy. Like, I'm so excited. So that's a personal, but I'm excited to bring the ladies around to some of the little hot spots that we only have a few days there. So I'm excited that personally. And then, of course, I'm excited at the conference to revisit people I haven't seen in a while. I mean, I've done many conferences in back in the day when there was WIPA. I spoke there, so I'm excited to get reacquainted with some friends who I haven't seen in a long time. And for both of them, I will say I'm excited because the talk for each of them will be a little bit different, and it will be based on some of the attendees. Like, we pull examples of people doing things really well. So I always love customizing that for these events, and then having people's reaction. Like, someone's like, oh my God, that's me on her slides. And so London, well, I'm excited to spend time with you, obviously, in both places. Leah, Renee, and I have not made fully plans for that week, but I'm excited. See, what I'm going to say, Becca, you're just going to be right, because it's just so touristy. Like, if I tell you, you're going to be like, girl, I'm a Royals person. So, like, I might just slip back over to Kensington Palace and hang out all day. Like, I love going there. I love talking to the staff, like, in the museum area. Like, I have all these questions about, like, Queen Victoria's mourning period. Like, I just have all these questions. But I love walking over to Harrods. I just do. Fortnum and Mason too. I'm sorry. That makes me such a tourist, but I love Oliver only drinks Fortnum and Mason tea, and I can't get it over here, so I have to go get his Christmas presents for the next 3 years. So
That's
yeah.
so funny because that sounds like such a bougie thing to say here. My child only drinks Fortnum and Mason tea.
No, guys. Like he is bougie. I mean, he literally has a towel warmer to warm up his PJs. So I mean, the kid loves comfort. He knows what he loves. So he primarily, he loves Fortnum and Mason. So I'm just gonna go back over, and my happy place is Fortnum and Mason. I just love being there and taking it all in and staring at everything all day.
But we won't judge you for being touristy because we all know that when I come to the States, I do everything super
you
touristy.
do. I was going to say, I know I'm hard on myself, but then I'm like, well, I am a tourist. Like like, why am I?
Exactly. I come to Vegas. You guys are all working hard. And I'm like, I just went to the giant cocktail shop. I just went to the strip. I went because we're only there. We've flown all that way. We got to enjoy the things that are there and be touristy. That's okay. And so if you're listening to this and you're from outside of the London area or outside of the island area, like make the most of your time coming to the conference. Spend a couple of days, do something either side because there's so much to do.
Yeah, come to tea with me. I'll be there.
I'll go for tea at Fortnum and Mason. So your talk at both Ireland and London, as I said in the introduction, is all about like, are you ready for the new way of doing weddings? What are people going to learn specifically from that session?
Sure. I'm so excited about this. It started as a 20-minute one that I did in the Middle East a couple of years ago, and it really kind of landed. And then I started expanding it out and updating it every 6 months. And so what they're going to see is some of the top like buyer behaviors of couples right now. We're going to see what it is about them. What are the shifts we're seeing with them? How do we react to those things? There's going to be a bunch of homework things I want people thinking about, embracing social proof. And what we're going to do is we're going to, for each one, we're going to weave in examples of wedding pros who are already doing it well, which I love because it's one thing for me to stand up there and say, well, you need this, you need logos, but to actually show people's peers doing it and doing it well, I think is it really adds something to the talk as well. So expect to shed some light on what we're seeing with, like I said, buyer behaviors right now based on, and it's global, generationally what we're seeing and, how to, I don't want to say the word pivot because that reminds me of COVID, but how to adjust accordingly to see long-term success.
Amazing. And I love it when people bring in real examples as well, because I think we learn from seeing what someone else is doing rather than it just being a concept that's kind of airy in the sky. And that's why I love your trends talk that you do at Wedding MBA, because you're bringing in, you're saying this is the trend and here's some pictures of people who've actually done it.
Well, can I give you a little spoiler alert that you might keep your eyes open for Wedding MBA 2026, looking at getting the gang back together. So keep an eye out because you might see us back with new ideas. We'll see.
Amazing. That's definitely one of the highlights. Okay. I've had some pushback, only a tiny bit of pushback from people when I've been talking about my conference here in London saying, Becca, it's great. You're bringing in all your friends. They're coming to speak from the US, but I'm a florist in Wales. What's this American publicist gonna teach me? Why are you bringing from America?
No, that's a good question. So here's the thing, and to the florists in Wales and everybody else as well. The right speakers, when Becca brings them in, and you have brought in the right speakers, are going to adjust accordingly. Like I'm an international speaker. I've spoken before in many, many places. And so when we bring content, it is not going to be primarily US based. You know what I mean? Like my content is going to work for this market. And one thing I always like to remind people too is because of the World Wide Web, because of the internet and all those things, our generations are all connected a lot. There are a lot more similarities with our audiences than there were 10, 15 years ago. So yes, I'll be bringing some thoughts from America, but they will translate over well. But a lot of what I do, this stems from a global talk. So it's always meant to, gave this talk it's been obviously changed quite a bit because so much has continued to evolve, but it was actually exclusively an international talk at first. So yeah, the right people will bring the right content with them.
I 100% agree. And what's interesting is I really think we are becoming more and more of a global industry.
Yes, we are.
We're getting inspiration here in the UK. We're seeing rise of multicultural weddings. We're seeing things from different cultures, different places. The industry isn't siloed just to the UK. And,
we can universally dislike the Pantone color of the year. That is not a US based like unhappiness, just so you know.
Exactly. Now, one of the things I've done from this conference is been very intentional about the speakers that I bring in, because for me, going to a conference and having a boring speaker or a speaker that's not very good at speaking, you lose the whole room. And it's people's precious time. They're giving up a day of their time to come and learn. We want to make sure that the best people are there to teach them. And I know you work with speakers all of the time. You help, you have a
Yeah.
speaker training course. So in your opinion, what makes a great conference speaker?
Oh, I mean, this could be the whole other thing. What makes a great conference speaker? Like, let me do the unsexy stuff real quick, okay? The behind the scenes. A great conference speaker will, first of all, be easy to work with. Becca, I'm sure I can get snaps from you on that one. Easy to work with. Really take time to understand the audience going into it ahead of time, and is responsive. All the things like admin wise. But a great speaker on site, they're not going to be someone who just turns it off as soon as they get off stage. It's so interesting to me when you have like Renee Dallo is never off. Let me be clear. Like Renee, never off. Like she stayed with me at my house, never. And I love that about her. Her energy is her energy, and it's infectious. And it's someone who takes the energy from the stage and brings it out in life as well. There's someone who they understand they're there to educate, but also connect one-on-one with people. And then when on stage, there's someone who is engaging and, because they understand the crowd to the best of their ability ahead of time. They're catching the attention, and they just hopefully people listen to them and they grab a few nuggets. Maybe it's not a million things, but enough nuggets that they feel satisfied, and also maybe a little bit of homework as well. But I mean, I could literally talk about this forever, but those are a few things that stand out. I think that there's someone who can be easy to work with, but also understand that the audience they're bringing, like they truly understand the people in the room so that they can present something that makes sense for them.
And I think a great conference is a great conference because it has great speakers. I
Yeah.
think we've all been in those conferences where, some big name is announced as being the headline speaker, but they're
Yeah.
not a speaker, and then they share their story and it doesn't resonate. And then we find it hard. And I think it's difficult for me as a marketer because I'm like, come to my conference. Here's there's
Yeah.
loads of great speakers, but sometimes people don't know what that means. So thank you.
Yeah,
For giving
no,
insight
absolutely.
into that.
Well, I think one of the biggest things you said, I teach a course on speaking, and I have to remind people all the time. Someone's like, well, they consider speaking. They're like, well, I've been doing this planning thing for 20 years, or look at my portfolio. It's like, all of that is amazing. This is a different discipline. This is a completely different discipline. Like, you are learning a brand new thing. And so if we don't humble ourselves to that fact, it's not going to work out,
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah,
Now,
you got a great
like
group.
me, also go to a lot of industry events. You're always
Yes!
up and down the US, across the world, going to industry
There.
events. So you've seen it
Yeah.
all. What
Yeah.
do you think makes a good industry event? And why do you think people should prioritize them as a business owner?
Sure. One of the best things, it's the people. I mean, you cannot replicate that. I just went to a brand new conference out in Arizona, and it's their first year, and they did a great job. But I went to one of the conferences. I think I went to both conference orders, Megan and Ashley, and I said to them at the end, I'm like, you can't. Whatever you did in this room is magical. Like, these people, this exact group of people, this was it. You did it. And this is a very hard thing to replicate, meaning outside of that. And so I think that having people come where there's no ego, there's no ego, and they're there to learn, and they're there to humble themselves and meet more people. That kind of vibe, that kind of electricity, that kind of energy is something that is amazing. Like, that's a big part of it. I love that the most is going to be the people. I also love, for me, I always lean towards the education too. I want great speakers who it's not their first day on a stage for a conference. Like, I can't. They can start somewhere else and then move their way up. Why people should prioritize a few different things. One is FaceTime. FaceTime with people is still huge. I mean, I go on the road. I'm at Wedding MBA. I'm at all these things. Having that FaceTime makes all the difference. It truly does. Is top of mind, right? Makes you top of mind for referrals, but also just fills your cup, and it's the inspiration that comes with it. But also it's the education. Yes, there's some great online stuff, and don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a big fan of your podcast, Becca, so I get a lot from your podcast. But there's no substitute to listening to someone live, being able able to have lunch with them afterwards, ask follow-up questions, discuss among your peers, like that is the best way to learn. So for me, yes, I do a lot of speaking, so I'm out on the road, but I also invest in going things. Like I do go to things. I practice what I preach.
Yeah, 100%. Nothing beats being in a room with people. And it kind of brings us full circle to what we were
Yeah.
saying earlier in terms of, me and you, we're saying we don't have time to go out for coffee and chat with everyone, but actually being in a room with people at an event when we're there all day, that's the perfect time for you to ask a quick question, get a little bit of insight, follow up on a conversation over a cup of tea, rather than, and so being in the room with the people at that time is
Makes
a
all the
great
difference.
opportunity. And the other thing is, it's going back to that purposeful visibility. If you're going to choose to come, be purposeful in it. Why are you coming to that room? How are you going to showcase that on your social media? How are you going to make connections? Are there certain people in the room you want to meet? Are there certain topics you want to learn more about? Like, be purposeful. If you're going to come, don't just think, oh, that looks fun, I'll go there. You need to know why you're giving up that
why
time.
you're doing that. I mean, as you and I know, we have to balance home, work, life, the lives that my cats deserve, and if I'm going to leave, I have to do it and have a reason behind it, and justify that.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I'm excited to have you in March in both Ireland and London.
I know we're going to have so much. I can't believe we're all going to be, this is so dorky, but we're all going to be on a plane together from Dublin to London. And I think that's so adorable.
It's a road trip. We're road tripping around the UK. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I don't know what possessed me to think starting a conference was a good idea, but the closer I get, the more excited I am about it because it's all coming together and I know it's going to be a great event. Now, Megan, I always end my podcast with the same question, which is, what's one thing you wish you'd known sooner in your own business? Now, before I ask you this, I also looked back to see what you said last time.
Oh, shoot. Oh, my God. I don't remember what I said last time.
Of course you don't, but I
will
find
you tell me after?
I will. I find it very interesting because I think our minds change, we evolve, what we're thinking about at a certain time changes. So I'm interested to know whether your answer is the same or different to last time. And I promise I'll tell you afterwards what it is.
Okay,
so what's one thing you wish you'd known sooner?
That the world will not crumble if you say no to something. Like I was a yes lady for everything. And, it started with my not maternity leave. I barely had maternity leave. Shout out to America for that one. But anyways, but I did have to limit the number of clients I came in. So to be able to say, and I realized they were okay with waiting. And then sometimes I say no to a volunteer board position because I'm doing a lot on boards already. And nothing's ever crumbled because of that. And I wish I could have assured myself that's okay. It's okay to build a few more boundaries and not go to everything because you're not going to see, like, it's not like I say no to everything. I purposely say no to some things or maybe later, and it's okay. And I wish I would have given myself permission. It took years, and it took Michelle Loretta, who, love her, BCH Consulting, with the numbers to say, you don't have to say yes to that. That's not a profitable choice. So, okay, what did I say last time?
It's not that far off, actually. Last time you said to stop being so hard on yourself.
Oh, well, yeah, that has not improved. I'll be honest. But the thing is, I'm a perfectionist. Like I go on stage and I know when I do a good job, but in my head, I'm like, oh, you could have done that. You could have done that. But no, yes, I am hard on myself. I should probably bring that to a therapist.
Well, now's not the time. I am not the therapist.
No, but, just teasing. But I think that's so interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I think it kind of all comes together, though, because not being so hard on yourself is also part of learning to say no, because as people pleasers, when we say no, then we give ourselves a hard time about it because then we feel bad.
Absolutely. If I can make a guess here, is I think I've gotten to truly a place in my life, not to turn you into a therapist, but I've gotten to a place in my life where I understand that me being hard on myself, like there's ways to leverage that in a healthy way. You know what I mean? What I'm looking for and what I hope, but I also don't hold others to that. You know what I mean? So I think I truly, yes, I'm hard on myself, but I think 3-4 years into the future now, where we are today, 2026, I think I've learned to make peace with it and use it for kind of like the power of good. So that's 2022, Megan.
Exactly. Well, maybe 2030, Megan will be back on the podcast.
Oh my
reflecting
God.
back in some kind of crazy
The rest of this will be gray. I'll
Anyway.
go from gray to grayer. I can't imagine what will my hair look like, and we'll revisit it. We'll revisit.
Megan, it's been such a pleasure.
So
Thank
fun.
you so
Thank you
much
so
for your time.
much.
And I cannot wait to hear what you've got to say in both Ireland and London, especially now I know they're not going to be the same.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Such a great conversation with Megan. Always love to chat with her. She has so much to say. She's such a guiding fountain of knowledge when it comes to all things press and PR and the state of the industry. If you haven't yet got your tickets for London or Ireland, you can get them now at wedproslive.com. And I cannot wait to see you there. I'll see you next time.